The Miami Dolphins, I'm just going to be blunt. I've not been a fan of this regime since really they've took over. Chris Greer, I have not been a big fan of how he constructs rosters. Mike McDaniels, I don't think he's ever a guy that's going to lead a team far in the playoffs or maybe even win a playoff game. I think they got talent on this roster, but I have so many questions about the important positions that I end up thinking this team is going to really fail down the stretch. And it's been a theme year after year after year. I mentioned last year during a preview that I said this team was built to sell tickets, not win playoff games. And I still stand by that. I'm going to preview the Dolphins, but I just want to get out of the way right now. I don't think highly of this team. But let's jump into it, talk about their offseason, and just talk about where the direction this franchise is going to be headed towards. Let's talk about their free agency and trade acquisition. I want to start out a bit more positive, and that's them treating Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith for Minkah Fitzpatrick. I love Minkah Fitzpatrick. I am a Steelers fan. I have watched him for years, and he was my favorite player. Why? Because he was the linchpin in that defense. And I think it's a major loss for the Steelers losing Minkah Fitzpatrick, and it's a major gain for the Dolphins. With what Minkah is, and I know a lot of people point out, he doesn't have the turnover thing as much anymore as he used to. Well, that's how the Steelers were playing him. They were playing him so far off the line of scrimmage, so far back to limit deep plays, but he wasn't in his Minkah Fitzpatrick role. He wasn't that robber-type safety that was able to make plays. You look at Miami, what do they have to lose? He's going to be that robber-type play to get turnovers to help them get the ball back, because their defense is just not that strong in general, so you're going to need to rely on turnover-worthy plays to get the football back for your offense. Now we look at the rest of this offseason. You lost Javon Holland, but you did replace him with Minkah, although Holland is younger. Maybe you'd rather keep Holland there for the long run. James Daniels, another former Steeler. Man, having a bad Achilles injury is not good, especially for an offensive lineman. That's a lot of weight on your Achilles, and that's a lot of backwards movement, which isn't the most fun thing on a bad ankle. Then they brought in Tyrell Dodson, fine. Zach Wilson, fine. Nick Westbrook, fine. They lost Calais Campbell. The Dolphins really didn't do anything that I loved. The one thing I did like was Minkah, but I also think, man, you probably should just trade Jonnu and Ramsey for picks, because I just don't see this team doing anything this upcoming season unless it's a, hey, if you don't win, you're fired situation, which I fully get. Then you want to bring the best possible player you can. I just don't like this Dolphins offseason. But to speak a bit more positively, they did make one move I really liked, and that was drafting Kenneth Grant at the 13th overall pick in the draft. Kenneth Grant to me was a high motor player that has a lot of potential. Do I know if he's going to reach that full potential? No, but when I watched him play, I really got the sense that he could really burst onto the scene in the NFL after a couple years. He's a really good athlete that never gives up on a play. He is going to need to develop a bit. His technique is just not there compared to some other tackles. But that's the thing, his technique is not bad. It's average, I would say, but his motor is his biggest key. And that's something you really want in interior defense tackle to build your defense off of, is a high motor player that never gives up on the play. Because that attitude during a game shows what he's like off the field and how much he's willing to work. I think it's a great pick, it's a great move, and it's been a while since I've said that about Dolphins draft pick. I've liked some of their picks in recent years, but I've also been like, does that really make sense for them? This, I think, makes sense and is a great player. With their second-round pick, they took Jonah Savania, and I apologize if I butchered that name, but here's with what I wrote on him during the draft process. Talented guy, cannot play tackle in the NFL. He's not the athlete that you need in the modern-day NFL. Has a very good guard build, can probably slide into guard and be a very good player. I am concerned about his power rush. Now, I wanted to read that off because, well, I think it's important context for the Dolphins. The Dolphins are a team that gets out-muscled, out-physicaled. They're drafting a guard who I do like. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but I heard about him handling a power rush. And I know they're a zone-based offense. I fully get that. But when you watch the Dolphins, it's very clear as the season goes on, teams are able to wear on them because they're just not strong in the trenches. Kenneth Grant is a pick that made you strong in the trenches. He's a very powerful guy. I would have loved to have seen that come back over to the offensive line, get some more power there. Not saying Jonah will be a bad player. I think he's got a lot of potential, and he does fit the Kyle Shanahan zone-based offense, which Mike McDaniels runs. I fully get that. I'm just saying, when you look how this team's constructed, You need some power every now and then up front, and I don't think he's going to provide that in spades compared with what the Dolphins realistically need. Now, one more pick I do want to shout out before I move on is Ollie Gordon. The reason why is because Ollie Gordon very much intrigued me. I felt like he was a guy who could really benefit in the NFL just having a stable offense line. I don't feel like the Dolphins have that, but they have a really good run-based system that can open up running lanes for running backs very good. We've all seen this with Kyle Shanahan products, that their run-based offense is extremely good. They may have issues with the offensive line, but they know how to run the football, target gaps, target certain plays at certain times. They're very good at running the ball, which leads me thinking this could work out because they have shown a lot of great production in recent years at running the football. But I don't know if Ollie Gordon's the athlete Miami typically likes, and that leads me concerned about him getting playing time to actually showcase his skill set. Dolphin strengths. Strengths was not that hard to figure out because a lot of this team I do not care for, but there's one position I cannot deny it. That'd be the wide receiver group. Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill are phenomenal players, and they are matchup nightmares on either side of the field because you can match up a number 2 corner on Jalen Waddle. Odds are he's going to beat the number 2 corner. Well then, oh no, you're going to put him on Tyreek Hill? That's even worse. They create matchup nightmares because they're both number 1 wide receivers. Tyreek Hill is one of the fastest dudes I've ever seen play the game of football. Jalen Waddle is a smooth route runner that doesn't get enough credit for how fast he is off his breaks. They're truly a dynamic duo that's hard to cover in the NFL and is always a problem no matter who the quarterback is because you can't cover both of them every single play. Now, weaknesses, I'm just going to keep hammering home the trenches. I couldn't make a long list here. I'm not a fan of their cornerbacks. I think their cornerback room is dreadfully bad. I do not like their quarterbacks after Tua, and with Tua's concussion history, I think that is a major concern. But man, that line, it's not been improved yet. Let's think about it like this. The first Minkah Fitzpatrick trade, they drafted Austin Jackson. Austin Jackson's not all that great. And you keep on looking at these Dolphins offense linemen they bring in, and they don't produce at the level you want. Teron Armstead came in, was really good. Well, he's retired. So what exactly do we look at for the Dolphins? Well, just pray. This offense line is not going to be good. It's going to lead to a lot of unnecessary hits that Tua should not be taking. It's going to lead to them losing more football games than they probably should with the talent they do have on offense. Tua is not my favorite quarterback in the world, but he's more than serviceable to win games and be on a playoff team. With that offensive line, I don't think he'll get the chance because he'll be running for his life every single play. And then if you want to counteract that, well, you add a short passing game. You're limiting Tyreek Hill, you're limiting Jalen Waddle to very short intermediate routes. Can they do good stuff with that? Absolutely. But you're missing a big part of their games. I just look how this Dolphins team's constructed, and it makes me really think this regime is done after this season. There's no way you can bring both of them back long term. So this is typically where I would talk about where I see them finish in the division, what have you, but that will be in a little bit. I wanted to talk about the future direction of this team. Because Tyreek Hill will not be a Dolphin after the season. Whether he's traded at the trade deadline or just cut after the season, he will not be a Dolphin in 2026. Which makes me think, why haven't you traded him? You wrote your contract with him to be able to get out after the season. Your team is very much in a predicament because they don't have the offensive line. They don't have the defensive line. Their pass rushers have not produced like you want. Their cornerback room is bad. You just look at the Dolphins and you think, what have you done for me to really think this regime can be a long-term answer? The answer is nothing. They got lucky with Brian Flores, who really built that culture, and then they abandoned that. They abandoned the trenches. They abandoned it completely and went for just speed, playmakers, fun. And it's why I keep saying they're built to sell tickets, not win important games, because that's just how they are. They're not a team that you think can go into a place in January and win a football game in the AFC. I don't even think they could do it against a lot of the mid-tier AFC teams. You look at Pittsburgh, they are going to outmuscle you. You look at Cleveland, I don't think they could beat Cleveland in January if Cleveland has mediocre quarterback play. This team is constructed so poorly for the playoffs, and it's what led me to really just being negative on them in general. When in actuality, they'll probably be around 500. But you look at the same thing happening over and over and over again. It's the definition of insanity, and the Dolphins are not fixing it. I just don't know what to say about this regime that hasn't been said. I've been negative on them for so long that I feel like everyone's catching up, And now it's like, oh, wait, maybe they aren't good. Yeah, they haven't been good this entire tenure, but I've been the only one spouting it because I've seen this team is not good. They are, as I made a video on it years ago, fool's gold. They'll start off great, they'll look really good, but as they get down the stretch, they just don't have it in them. Their roster is constructed so poorly. And I'm sorry for going off on this tangent, Dolphins, because it actually aggravates me that this team has seen the issue how many years in a row, and they refuse to fix it. It's the same thing over and over again, the definition of insanity. So if you can tell based off my video, you probably think I don't have them finishing too high in the division. Well, luckily for you Dolphins, I think lower of some of the teams in your division. I have them finishing second. I don't think the Patriots are there yet. And the Jets, let's just say, Dolphins fans, if you really didn't think I was too positive on your team, just wait till I talk about the Jets in their offseason. That will be an interesting one. But the Dolphins, like I said, they'll probably start off good and they'll fade as the season goes on. It's the same thing year over year over year. I'm not expecting anything different from them. Thank you very much for watching the video. If you like this video, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. If you'd share this, I'd greatly appreciate it. At the time of this recording outro, I currently have 276 subscribers. I'm trying to hit 300 subscribers by the start of the NFL season. If you'd subscribe, I'd greatly appreciate it. I'm doing 32 in 32 days, 32 team previews in 32 days. It's crazy. I know. I'm a little crazy myself. I hope you all enjoyed, and have a great day. Thank you for watching.